Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Tommy and we're going to be continuing our playthrough of Final Fantasy 1. Not just a playthrough, but also like a lore discovery video. Our goal is to connect the Final Fantasy games in as many ways possible by discovering the lore. So last we left off, we came to the pirate town Provoca. We've saved the town, beat down the pirates, got ourselves a pirate ship. And I think this lady right here is probably the most useful person in telling us where to go next. She's talking about elves. Now, elves are kind of interesting, aren't they? We don't really see many elves throughout the Final Fantasy games, although we see some beings that are maybe close to elves. Close enough for me, anyway. Not only do we have elves in this game, we also have dwarves. We'll be talking about that a little bit more later on as well. But right now, she's saying that elves live across the sea, but the elf prince has fallen into a deep sleep and hasn't woken up. Now, the elf prince falling into a deep sleep also has to do with Matoya losing her crystal eye. This is all the same kind of plot here, and we're going to head down to the elves. I'll show you where to go. And when we get there, there's going to be a lot more stuff to talk about, but give me just a second here. Yeah, in our last episode, we got a boat. This is our boat. It's not safe aboard the boat. What I mean by that is we can get in random encounters. So be careful. Be careful of bad guys. Okay, we're all rested up. We've shopped at all the shops. We've got everything that we can do here. I did a little bit of grinding and leveled up. This guy, I also wanted to show off his dialogue too, because he talks about a town called Malmend to the west. He talks about how the earth rots and monsters attack in the night, but more importantly, the earth rots. Well, of course, there's things that we can do to help. Anyway, why is that significant? Well, because that's our hint as to where the crystal is. I think that's the first crystal, too, the earth crystal. It tells us that in the beginning of the game, how the earth begins to rot. So there's some information as to where we're supposed to go. So anyway, like I was talking about earlier, we're going to go pay a visit to the elves and go find out what troubles befall them. What can we do to help them in that time of need? We are heroes, after all. Let's beat up these fish people and go talk to them. Let's beat up some more of these freaky, fishy fiends. And go talk to the elves. Okay, keep going. I'm probably going to do another random encounter, but I just wanted to point out that the area that we're in right now, as you can see on the map up there, we're very boxed in and closed in. There's no real way to leave this area yet. Uh-oh. Let's hope I don't die right here. But anyway, we'll find a way to leave shortly. There's only a couple places that we can go right now. We can go talk to the elves, we can go talk to the dwarves, or we can go back to Cornelia. Anyway, whatever. The first town. You know what I mean. Okay, so this is where the port is for Elfheim. That's what it's called. That's what they call it. These are my spells. Kind of show you guys where my characters are actually at. I'm not really showing a lot of fighting. Kind of figured I would do that once we got to bosses and stuff like that. But every once in a while, we'll check it out. We got some Gagus worms and some ogres and things like that. We're in a tougher kind of a area of the game, so things are going to get just a little bit harder as we go through. Just kind of auto-battling here. Not a big deal spending all my magic points and stuff like that, because we have an inn pretty close there. And I really wanted my white mage to level up. It's very easy for your little squishy mages to die. I also wanted to point out, I've never pointed this out, I have not pointed this out yet, but when you take a look at the white mage's victory pose, it just really looks like she's flipping the bird. I think that's funny. Anyway, let's go inside. Let's go inside. We're going to go inside. This is Elfheim. We're going to talk to all the elves. Just don't know what to do. Please help our prince. We already know that the prince fell into a deep slumber, and we're here to find out why. And even though we just spent every last guild that we have at the last town, we're already at the next one. So there is a full fully stocked weapon shop, fully stocked armor shop, as well as our level 3 spells. We're going to want to get as much of that as possible. Now, you might be asking yourself, should I buy a dagger for my black mage, or should I not? And the answer to that is that the staves actually don't... It's just a wooden staff. It doesn't actually help your magic any. So if you're an auto attacker, like myself, you know, because my black mages are going to be swinging some auto attacks, and that's fine. And it is going to be more useful if you have the dagger. So I say, buy the dagger. Buy it for your black mage. You'll thank yourself. You'll pat yourself on the back when you do. Let's see. Let's get through this here. This is an interesting piece of dialogue, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not quite sure how to explain this. How do you explain this? So all the elves in this town obviously resemble another hero from a completely different game franchise, game company. But for some reason, we gave him a little Easter egg, I guess you would say. I mean, he's dead here, as you can see, which seems more like a slap in the face. But then again, if you actually get into the lore of Zelda, let's just we're gonna stick to this game, of course. But these little guys, they sure are dressed a lot like Link from the Legend of Zelda series, and I thought that was kind of a cute little nod. And if we're trying to connect the lore to those, that's just another story for another time. That's a completely different game that we'd have to get into. Let's see. Let's keep talking to the elves so we can get into the lore of this game. So he is talking about the Astos. He's talking about Astos, the king of the dark elves. We don't know where he went. Okay, whoops, I didn't mean to exit the whole town there. Let's keep talking to elves. Okay, they want us to help the prince. Here's an important guy to talk to. He's a sage. And when the time is right, the future is revealed to me. I shall wait patiently until then. Okay, I take it back. He's actually useless. He doesn't give us any information at all. Let's talk to this guy. Weapons and armor made of mithril are sturdy and powerful. You should give them a try. You'll be surprised. Mithril. Mithril is going to be important to talk about too when we get there. Like I said, guys, this is Final Fantasy 1. There's not many connections that we can make here. This is just kind of a basis for everything that we are going to talk about. But when we do come to important things and important key points and stuff like that, we'll definitely be talking about it. If the prince does not awaken, there will be no elf king. We will be at the mercy of the dark elf's evil power. Yeah, that sounds about right. On a journey I once took to the west, I wandered into an ancient castle. Not a soul could be found inside, and the whole place gave me the creeps, so I got out as fast as I could. Keep that in mind that he says this, right? Because this ancient castle, it's important to know that this ancient castle doesn't seem like it's something that's of important to the elves, right? It's not of import. Maybe it's not that it's not important, but like the elves don't seem to know about it, right? It looks like this one guy that I'm talking to right here randomly wandered into that place. It's not a place that's widely known to the elves. He doesn't even know what to call the place. As a matter of fact, the elves don't even have a name for it. Good thing to keep in mind as we go through the game. I think we talked to him already. I think we talked to just about everybody in town, as a matter of fact. Except for this guy. Do you give me any information, or you're just another sage? Okay. Anyway, I got a little bit of gil. I'm gonna do some shopping in town, and then we're gonna go to probably that ancient castle. As a matter of fact, I think that's where we're gonna go now. Oh no. We're gonna go explore the castle. Let me do some shopping, and we'll reconvene in the castle. I thought I'd just show the shops real quick. I might as well, right? This copper armlet is going to be probably the most useful piece of gear that you can get, period, especially if you're doing a silly little run like how I am. Oops, all mages. No, it's actually really hard, and my mages die a lot. We'll be getting a lot of these copper armlets. I can't even pronounce that. Later on through treasure chests and things like that, but we can, and they're very expensive, but we can buy one now. We also have leather caps, which I don't think any of my mages actually have anything like that, and I'm probably going to go ahead and buy one of these for now. Yes, I am going to do that. Yeah, so they don't even have headpieces on, so yeah, you would bust out some leather caps. And statistically, you would actually want to give the copper armlet is actually armor. So we're going to take off our clothes, right? Stay with me here. We're going to take off our clothes to put on this copper armlet. And our defense is actually going to go up. You'd think the copper armlet would go here, but no. You can actually have gloves and an armlet on. Anyway, whatever. That has nothing to do with the lore. I just thought it was kind of weird. But yeah, you would give it to your white mage because of where she's at. She's up here. So top to bottom is going to get attacked in that order. So for example, whatever character you have at the top of the row, it has higher chances of getting attacked than any of the lower characters. So statistically, most attacks should go into my white mage at this point, and since she has a copper armlet, that should really help out to deflect attacks. How much more gil do I have? Almost none. I don't think there's anything in the weapon shop other than the daggers. And then I think spells are rather expensive here. Yeah, they sure are. But what's kind of nice about these black magic spells is that they deal damage to all enemies. And although I don't have many level 3 spell slots yet, it's going to be pretty useful. Especially when I get into battle with like 9 Sahagins and like 9 fish freaks. And you just want to zap them all to death. That's going to be kind of fun to do. Probably wipe them all out with one good Thundara. Let's go check out the white magic store. Let's go in here. Let's take a little trip down. Hi there. Do I find anything to my liking? Yeah, you guys have all kinds of stuff that I like, actually. Heal's kind of the same thing. You restore a little bit of HP, but to the entire party. That's pretty handy. And as you can see, that's also a white mage ability only. A white mage spell only, at least for now. I know when we do end up upgrading our classes, the red mage should have access to more spells, I believe. But as for right now, heal is a white mage only thing. I think it stays a white mage only thing. Anyway, whatever. I'm going to make that the spell that we buy. I hope that we have enough money to stay and rest at the inn, because I want to be tip-top shape. Golly, it's $100. Freaking elves. Charging so much for their beds. In any event, let's head to the castle now after we save. Don't ever forget to save. That is very important. So now we're here at the Elven Castle, where we can collect even more information as to what's going on here. Let's talk to them. Okay, the Dark Elf King Astos stole into the castle and placed a curse on our prince. Then Astos carted away the castle's treasures. That's not good. Astos' curse has put our prince into a deep sleep from which he cannot awake. Please, will you not aid our slumbering prince? I will. Don't you elves worry about it. I will help. The prince has slept under Astos' curse for 5 years now. This is not something that just now happened. He came over here and did all this about 5 years ago. Good to keep in mind. There must be a concoction that can rouse one who sleeps so, but where? It doesn't really give us much of a hint as to what to do to wake him up, right? Not yet, anyway. Let's keep talking to the elves. Whoops. I thought there was one that was out there, but you can't even really go out there. Yeah, there is one right there. See? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm going to find a way to get to that guy. There we go. Okay, now we talk to him. I've heard rumors of a witch who can brew any potion you could imagine. Let's see. I think her name was Matoya. So now if we combined the dialogue that we just got from this guy as well as the dialogue from the cleric, I guess, the alchemist, I suppose, who's watching over the prince, we can kind of put two and two together and figure out that there's some sort of a potion or a brew that we're going to need in order to wake the prince. The dwarves live in a cave on the western edge of the Aldean Sea. They're a friendly bunch. Weird, right? Dwarves and elves are not supposed to get along, right? But no, they actually do. And then we have more ties to, I believe, the Mystic Key, because I think there's doors that we can unlock with the Mystic Key when we go to visit the dwarves. There's doors that should be right here, I believe, inside the Elven Keep. Like that one right there that I don't know how to get to. Bear with me. As soon as I make it over there, you'll see. I believe that one is locked with the Mystic Key. Let's see if I can kind of go over there. Okay, here we are. And yes, the door has been secured with the Mystic Key, right? But we gave the elves the Mystic Key, what was it, 500 years ago or 400 years ago or some nonsense. So for them to make their own door and seal it with the key, that doesn't sound too crazy, right? The treasure room has been secured with the Mystic Key. Okay, what ends up becoming a little bit interesting is when we go to the next like major dungeon of the game. It's going to be called the Marsh Cave. And when we get to the very bottom of the Marsh Cave, we also find some weird doors that are also sealed with that Mystic Key. So what's going on here? What do you mean the Marsh Cave? What is this Marsh Cave? Well, the Marsh Cave was... how to explain it? It seems to be... When we get there, you'll see what I'm talking about, because I'll show you the map and the layout of the place, and it looks less like a dungeon and more like a treasure house, really. Right? Where maybe it was a place where the elves... where the elves kind of kept their treasures and stuff like that, but maybe over time something happened to it and it kind of just ended up sinking into the ground. All the treasures there kind of got lost and forgotten about. Nobody's really been brave enough to go back. But we're going to go check it out. We're going to go unlock it with the Mystic Key. Let me fight these horrible wolves first. See, now the black mages are actually doing a decent amount of damage now. See that? See that? About 40 damage. 54 with a crit. With a lucky crit. Not too bad. I'm going to try to find this ancient castle that the one dude was talking about. He said nobody was there. It freaked him out. He just kind of left. See if I can remember exactly where that place is at. Right on. So if you take a look at where I'm at on the map, you'll see that we are here at the, what is this place called exactly? The Western Keep, okay? So this is the Western Keep. Now, as you can see, it's much like the Chaos Ruins, right? Or the Chaos Temple. It's very much in ruins. It's very much old and destroyed, and what happened here, you know what I mean? And it's just hard to find any kind of dialogue or anything like that that's going to help us find out. I think there's actually even doors here that are sealed too. Is that correct? This door right here, I believe? Yeah, it's been secured and sealed with the Mystic Key. Interesting. Okay, this place is so close to Elfheim that I'm going to assume that it, at one point, was maybe where the elves dwelled. Until whatever happened to it. Or maybe, we do talk about the King of the Dark Elves, right? More likely, probably, is that this was the kingdom of the Dark Elves. That was maybe wiped out by the not Dark Elves. And weird, there's a king here, sitting on the throne. And the throne room actually seems to be mostly intact, right? Let's talk to this character and see what we get. The king. I was tricked by Astos, king of the Dark Elves, and now my castle has fallen into ruin. If I could only retrieve the crown from the marsh cave, I would be able to restore my castle. Might you bring me the crown? So we have a king here. We have a king here who just sent us on a quest. Now, okay, so hold on one second. What can we talk about? So what we would assume, right, because we know that there is, I don't know who gives the dialogue, darn it, but there is a character who talks about how there was an elf king at some point. They don't talk about this in the lore, but I'm going to go ahead and take a wild shot in the dark and say that the king was probably murdered. The elf king was probably murdered about 5 years ago by Astos when he came to put the prince asleep. Or was he? Because here he is right here. But interesting enough, he's just talking about his crown. He's not really too worried about his son who's been sleeping for the past 5 years. So who is this mysterious king who's in front of us? We would assume he's the elf king. Well, anyway, whatever. We'll talk more about it here in a second. This is all about the Astos quest line, and I think that Astos is a very underrated character. I think that he was very ambitious. He succeeded in a great many dark and evil deeds. He almost gets away with his wicked plans, too, if we didn't show up. If the Warriors of Light didn't show up right when they did. The only thing is like, without us, I'm not sure how would he get that crown, you know what I mean? I don't really need to cast fire anymore. They're just wolves, right? My black mages can just stabby rip, stab these wolves just like that. So the next place that we're going to want to go to then is the Marsh Cave, where the king is telling us to go. As I've said before, it's more of a treasure house than it is a dungeon. I mean, it's definitely a dungeon. There's twists and turns. You can definitely get a little bit lost if you don't have a map. Obviously, in the OG game, you would not have a map like how I have in this one. So at times I kind of feel like we're cheating playing the Pixel Remaster. It's kind of cheating. But it's not. They're just nice. They're just a lot nicer to us. Anyway, I'm going to go back to town. I think I got a little bit more money. Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't get any money. Oh, and I'm ambushed. I don't think I could cure poison either. I think it's just blindness I can cure, huh? Anyway, that is a whole entire werewolf right there. We're not going to worry too much about him, because he's going to get smoked. Not bad. Okay, so I'm going to probably do a little bit of grinding, and then we'll head down to the Marsh Cave. Okay, I lied. We're going to go do a couple of other things, actually, while I'm grinding, you know what I mean? Just kind of kill two birds with one stone. So one thing I wanted to show on the last video that I didn't, and that we are going to attempt to show on this video, is I wanted to go back, after we fought Garland, I wanted to go back to the Chaos Temple, because there was one thing kind of important there that I wanted to talk about. Then after that, maybe we'll pay a visit to the Dwarves while we're trying to level up here a little bit. Normally I wouldn't be too crazy about grinding, but oops all mages, right? Not that it's scary, right? Because there's a lot of challenges. I've seen a lot of people do white mage challenges where every member of their team is a white mage. I've seen people they kill off every member of their team and are just playing through the entire game with only one white mage. Kudos to those people, you psychos, but kudos to you. I don't think I'd want to. I've never actually watched one of those videos, but I assume you'd have to grind the heck out of your white mage and make her just ridiculously powerful. All the classes are unisex. I don't know why I say her. She looks like a girl to me. Anyway, whatever. Let's. This is Corneria. You can come up with your boat to get here, and I know. As soon as I get the Mystic Key, I'm going to be coming straight back up here anyway, but I really want to show this for the video. I really want to show the Dark Crystal off for a sec. Okay, so here we've made it back to the Chaos Shrine. These bats are important, but I guess we're not going to learn about that until a little bit later. Oh, there's a battle. Darn it. Some silly skeletons. Ah, yes, it seemed like only yesterday you guys were actually a challenge for me and scary. Okay, so this is the black crystal. It's not even called the dark crystal, it's called the black crystal, and it shines ominously. The air hanging in the room seems slightly distorted. That's interesting. So not a whole lot, right, to go by, but everything comes from the crystal, right? And we have, of course, as you can see from our menu screen, we got a fire, earth, wind, and water crystal there. And so far, I don't think the game has even spoke to us at all about a black crystal, yet here one is right in front of our face. So if, say, the fire crystal is all about, I don't know, what is the fire crystal all about, but other than making volcanoes? The earth crystal obviously takes care of the earth. The earth is fertile and gives us lots of crops and things like that. The wind is obviously the wind blowing. The water is the water. Anyway, all these things are failing because the crystals have failed. What does the black crystal represent? The black crystal is obviously very important, right? Like, hey, wait a minute, what about the black one? What does the black one do? Did the black one give a shard to maybe a particular warrior as well? All the other crystals gave their shards to us. We have one of the shards from the other crystals, but did the black crystal maybe give a shard to a warrior? And if so, who? Anyway, our next destination is the Dwarves. There's not much to do there, but we'll talk to them anyway and discover a little bit of dialogue. We're going to do just a couple little side things before we head down deep into the Mosh Cave, because the Mosh Cave is actually pretty scary. It's pretty scary. I usually do the dungeon in chunks, because there's kind of like a top and a bottom to the cave. So I want to, anyway, be as high leveled as possible. We don't have to actually show me fighting goblins, though, do we? What I will show, however, is now we're back on our ship. The way that we're going to find the dwarves is we're just going to go due west. We're going to go due west from here. I'll just kind of skip the battles, and I'll show you on the map where we end up being. Okay, so it's due west, right? But you can only park your ship at the ports, and there you got to go kind of north. So if you take a look at where I'm at, that's where you're going to want to go. And the Dwarven Cave is, I think, the only thing that we can really do here. Got a couple of more unique enemies. Don't really see a lot of cobras around here, do we? Please don't poison me. Thanks. Thank you for not poisoning me. We're going to go ahead and get half of our party to level 12. Hey, my red mage actually got some HP, which is amazing because my red mage is the tank of my party, really. That's an amazing level up right there. You always want to see yourself get some intellect. You always want to see your characters get a little bit of everything like that. If you go to the north here, if you go all the way west there, I don't really think there's anything. But if you come over here, you'll find a little cave. And we're going to go straight into this cave here in just a minute. And this is us. We're inside. This is Mount... What did it say? Mount Drugar? Mount Drugar? Mount Durgar. Okay. And this is the home of the dwarves. There's not much to do here yet until we get the Mystic Key, or... Yeah, until we get the Mystic Key pretty much and do all that kind of stuff. We got to save the Elf Prince first. But we can still kind of come here, and I think there's a couple treasure chests that we can get. There's some dialogue that we can check out anyway. Lolly-ho! And then to kind of delve into it a little bit deeper, what is the lore on the elves and the dwarves? Obviously, elves and dwarves are not really in other installments of Final Fantasy, so what ends up happening to them? With a crystal eye, even the blind can see. I hear that the dark elf Astos nicked the one belonging to Matoya. So now we learn that the dark elf Astos had to do with that crystal eye. So if we find Astos, we'll find the crystal eye. Why did Astos want the crystal eye so badly? What is the significance of the crystal eye to Astos? What did that mean to him? Well, with the crystal eye, even the blind can see. That doesn't explain anything, really, does it? We'll talk about that. That sound, that's Narek. He's smashing rocks in the back of the cave. I can't keep the accents up. I'm just going to talk like a normal guy. It's kind of hard to talk like a normal guy, though, when they're talking like this. Hey, you grabbed we old Smith, the smith. He's in the smithy, he is. He's in the smithy, he is. Mind that when it comes to defense, good armlet can be every bit as vital as body armor. You should try one out sometime. Okay. Let's talk to this little guy over here. The earth has started to rot. It began in the west, and no, the decay spreads. It's getting worse, right? If I'm remembering this correctly, I think we learn more about the crystals and about what was going on when we get to Crescent Island. We learned about Crescent Island from one of the old men in Corneria. He told us that Lucan went there. Lucan was a sage who prophesized everything that's going on right now, so going there and talking to him is going to be very beneficial. We also find other sages there. They tell us a lot about the lore. Anyway, the point of that is that all the crystals did not break down all at once. There was like a 200-year gap between all the crystals. Anyway, if you talk to Narek, he'll tell you that there's a giant rock in the way, and he's close to opening up the canal. He does, however, need a little bit of nitro powder, so we kind of got another quest right there, right? Once we get the nitro powder, he'll put it there and blow this suckered up, and then we can take our boat out of this little area that we're in and actually be able to sail the whole wide world. And now here is another door that's sealed with a mystic key. Now, what does that tell you? We're here in the Dwarves now, mind you, and here's another door sealed with the mystic key. Well, what it tells me is that kind of what we already knew is that for whatever reason, the Elves and the Dwarves are actually friends. So maybe they wanted something sealed, and, the mystic key is kind of the only way to do it. Also, the Elves are not the creators of the mystic key. It would be the ancestors of the people of Corneria who actually ended up making the key. So maybe they even came here a really long time ago and helped them seal some things inside that door. This is the smith. He's going to talk about the legendary metal adamantite. He'll be able to craft such a magical sword that I won't be able to use in this playthrough. Meh, meh, meh. What a bummer. Actually, I don't know. Can the red mage use the adamantine sword? Or is it called the Excalibur? I can't remember. Anyway, whatever. So this dude is looking for some levistone. It's supposed to be an amazing material that makes things float in the air. Even though he's looking for the levistone, we don't actually bring it to him. I need it for me. Look out. And then we have this guy. There might have been some nitro powder in the castle treasure room when they sealed it up. So this dwarf, how old are dwarves? How old do dwarves become? Because this guy, he talks about it almost like he remembers it. You know what I mean? But anyway, either way, he had knowledge of the nitro powder. I feel like nitro powder is kind of a thing that's exclusive to the dwarves. Who else would be running around using that? I don't think the elves really care about using that. The humans would probably try to make weapons out of it. The dwarves actually use it for blowing things up to kind of dig deeper. They dug too greedily, too deep. You know what they awoke in the darkness. Anyway, so to make the connection, though, at some point, the dwarves were probably friends then with the ancestors of the people of Corneria, or they were just flat-out friends with Corneria. altogether, which kind of, anyway, whatever. It's cool that the dwarves and the elves were friends, at least at some point. But what ends up happening to them, right? Do we see dwarves or elves in any other Final Fantasy games at all? Yes. Yes, we do. Yes, we do indeed. Where at? Well, Final Fantasy IV has some dwarves, right? We get to go visit some dwarves in the underworld. Elves are a little bit harder to explain. Right, well, let's keep on the dwarves for a second too, right? Because even after Final Fantasy IV, do we see dwarves in Final Fantasy V? Do we see them in 6? Are there dwarves in Final Fantasy VII, guys? No, there are not dwarves like ever. Like, I don't think we see dwarves again until Final Fantasy XIV. I'm not kidding. Actually, that's a lie. We do see dwarves, I think, in Final Fantasy IX. However, they're a little bit different in Final Fantasy IX. See, as we play through these games, you guys, there's gonna be plenty to talk about. There's gonna be a lot to uncover. So anyway, what about elves? Do we see elves? Yeah, we do. Elves are obviously in Final Fantasy XI. We call them by a different name, however, and I believe that we see a form of elves anyway, at least a form of them, in Final Fantasy X when we start talking about the Guado. Let's face it, take one good hard look at a Guado and the way that they act and everything. That's an elf for sure. Those are elves. You can call them whatever you want to, but those are elves. It's at least a form of an elf, right? But how come we don't see them in Final Fantasy II? How come we don't see them in Final Fantasy III? Where have they been? Where are they? Well, I see on YouTube there's a couple of people who look like they try to connect some kind of a timeline. However, the way that they do it is kind of interesting, right? Because at the time that they made Final Fantasy 1 and 2 and 3, I don't really feel like they were thinking about some like crazy timeline and mixing up all their games, right? Here's my theory of what's going on, is that the games are connected, very connected, right? But they're connected over the course of many, many, many years. At least that's what it seems like for a lot of the Final Fantasies. We're going to find some major connections that we're going to talk about once we do get to, say, like Final Fantasy 3 and Final Fantasy 4. We'll let Final Fantasy 1 and 2 kind of serve as like a basis, like I've been saying, of compare, a point of reference for compare. Anyway, those are the things that I wanted to talk about for now. There's honestly nothing left to do in the game at all right now besides get eaten by sharks and head down to the marsh cave. Now, if you're kind of using my videos like a walkthrough, always buy antidotes before you go into the marsh cave, because oh my golly, everything is going to try to poison you in that place. Everything. When I say everything, I mean just about everything. You will get poisoned. There are scorpions in there. There are spiders in there. There's poison in there. So always make sure you pack on a lot of those. And I don't even think that we can, even now, I don't think that we can cure poison, right? No, I can cure blindness, which almost never happens. But not poison, which you would really actually need to cure. I'm going to rest up here, and how much money do I have? Okay. I got a little bit of money on my little journey there. Can't seem to walk into the inn without bashing my head into the wall 100 times. There's a good little rest there. Right, so we'll revisit the dwarves and the elves and all that kind of stuff, what we think happens to them, what kind of becomes of them. Right, Final Fantasy XI has Elvan. Those are basically elves. Just calling a spade a spade. We're going to get Diara, or Diarrhea as I like to call it. I'm just kidding. We're going to put that right there on my white mage. She's the only one who can cast it. And there's also going to be a lot of undead too when we go to the Marsh Cave. And this is going to be some useful spells, right? However, you are going to have to use it smartly. You're going to have to use the spell very wisely, right? Because using this spell means you're taking away a spell slot that could be a heal or a cura. Sorry, I don't know how to talk. So you kind of have to weigh and measure. Well, am I going to spend more magic points? Am I going to spend more spell slots healing my party after all the damage that we take from this fight? Or am I going to spend less spell slots by simply casting this one spell and getting rid of all these zombies? Something to consider. I think it would be awful not to have your white mage have cura. And then my red mage should have probably Newell Blaze and cura, right? Because you can't really learn anything else. But I am also running out of gil. And I'll probably go for a Fyra. The reason why I say Fyra is because I feel like it's more effective on undead and stuff like that, whereas Thundara is just more effective to like sea monsters and water creatures and things like that. Looks like my red mage can use every single one of these spells, which is really nice. I'm going to go ahead and get a Fyra. Probably teach that to Tommy right there. Perfect. Yay. Okay, we're all doing pretty good. My white mage has a lot of hit points. That's where we're going to be right there. So we are going to head to the... I'm going to try to go to the Marsh Cave right now. And can I make this bigger? Can I make my map bigger? Okay, hey, look at that. And I can't really control the pointer, but just basically west of where we are right now is going to be where you're going to find the Marsh Cave. Whoopsie, I did not mean to do that. So I'm going to walk there now, and I'll kind of show you guys exactly where it's at. Here we go. I know I kept saying that we're going to go to the Marsh Cave, but there's just so many things to show. Where I'm at right now is still in Elfheim. If you come to the very north, here on the map, northwest part of the map of the town, you'll find these two magic shops. I walked right past them earlier in the video. I just never mentioned them at all, but this is where you would also get your level 4 spells, which as you can see are freakishly expensive. But we do have a scroll of Poisona, which would really help us out. Are they scrolls? I don't know. It's like a school or whatever that teaches you white and black magic. Later on in other Final Fantasies, your mages will just learn stuff automatically or through other means. We have other means of learning spells, but these kind of like shops sort of go away. Anyway, there's some useful stuff there. Something to cure silence, something to cure poison. Let's head in here. If you take a look at the black magic, we have Sleepra. We have haste, which is fantastic if you're using a melee kind of a job. I'm going to use that probably on my red mage on bosses and stuff like that, so you can just swing into bosses a lot. Confuse, and then of course Blizzara, which would do ice damage to all enemies. Kind of pricey, especially if you're not grinding very well. Especially if you're not doing a very good job grinding. Let's take a look inside here. Yeah, we're going to need way more than just 5 antidotes, so buy a couple more for now. This is also cheating. I did not have any of this stuff in the OG Final Fantasy. You had to come all the way back and use an N every single time. So it's kind of nice to have stuff like that too. As you saw, I already have one tent in my inventory. It's kind of nice. Do I need to rest up again? No, I think I just did. I'm just going to save here, and then I'll stop lying to you guys. I'm actually going to show you where the Marsh Cave is now. Here we are. We're almost there. So in order to get here, you kind of have to go up and around. You have to go up and around the mountains. There's like a way through the mountains. Like a break in them. Please don't poison me. Right on. And yeah, as you can see when you get here, there's some different enemies here that like to poison. Also, this particular area of the map just... I can't remember. I'm thinking. This is a place I think we want to keep in mind for a later Final Fantasy, because I'm pretty sure that this area is definitely in another Final Fantasy that we play. But we're going to get there when we get there. Anyway, this is the Marsh Cave. As you can see, it just kind of ended up being a hole in the ground rather than even a cave at all. It looks to me like it was a storehouse of some sort that just sort of sank. And we can actually take a good long look at the map here. Right now it doesn't really look like that, but what wasn't I saying there was like a top and a bottom? If you go... Well, no, I think that's a stairwell, actually, if you go into that room. And that way actually does lead to nothing, I believe. More bats are in here. More tarantulas to try to poison us and ruin our game. Ruin our lives, rather. They're just going to get squished by a hammer. Let's go down, 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 down. Now, of course, this is the Pixel Remaster version as well. We do have the option to turn encounters off. But I don't mind it. I like to fight them. I'll try to skip as many battles as possible, though. Of course, you guys don't have to watch me do it. Yes, so there's a ladder if you go this way. And then you'll see kind of how the rooms are set up. Treasure, treasure, treasure. And then we can kind of go down to the next floor where the Marsh Cave is full of rooms just like this. Even more so as we go down. It becomes quite apparent that it is just kind of a big treasure house. Let's see, there's actually no treasure up in that room. That's okay. Oh my golly, how am I going to get out of this one? Well, I'm probably just going to fry all these guys with a fire spell. The crawlers also, I believe, can poison you as well. There's a great many things that can poison you in this place. Here comes a big fire in case you guys actually did want to see that. I don't know if you did or not, but there it is. As you can see, it does an incredible amount of damage. Especially to undead and crawling freaks. So we want to check out the treasure rooms first, of course. Also, we can do... Let me show off a little bit of Dia action. I think we could even do Dia 1. Which one of these guys? You think it's the ones in the back you kind of want to be aware of? One of them can... When they attack, they do like a paralysis to you. Completely one-shotted there. And anyway, the paralysis can be pretty devastating at times. That chest simply had a potion in it, but that's okay. We'll keep looking for some more things. Okay, the next room is a broadsword. Oh, wouldn't you know it, I already have one of those. Whew. Okay, and in the very last room, we have a potion. Oh look, you can actually turn encounters on and off just by clicking the R button there. Isn't that kind of nice? I'm going to turn them off for a second because I am very hurt, and I'm going to head back to town for a second. Oops, all mages. Okay, I made it back to Elf Land after getting my booty spanked. I'm going to go ahead and get another one of these copper armlets. I think that we can find 2 of them in the Marsh Cave. But I'm dying. I'm getting my butt kicked really bad. So I'm going to grab one of these, kind of help out my defense a little bit. And we'll give Andy the last one when we find it. Should be in one of the treasure chests in the Marsh Cave. I believe we get at least one more copper armlet. And I think that because it's very late for me at night, and because this video is actually drag on a little bit longer than what I thought. I thought we'd make it a little bit further, but that's okay. I'm actually going to use the end while I give my outro here. So not bad. In the next video, we are going to actually go to the end. We are actually going to go ahead and finish up the marsh cave. I'll kind of show you the layout of the cave so you guys can kind of see the treasure room thing that I'm talking about. I'm not crazy. It was definitely a treasure house at some point. To house the treasures of all the elves, right? This is where we will end up finding the crown that the elves are talking about. And I don't know what the significance of the crown is. I don't know if it's just like a symbol or if it actually gives you the power to rule. Yeah, either way, Astos, the dark elf, that's his ultimate plan, is to obtain that crown. Always double save because you never know. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, please give me a thumbs up. And thank you for tuning in. And we will see you all again in the next one. Have a good night, everyone.